Happy Wednesday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Jabara here with Jared Smith. Jared, some crazy news yesterday. One, Jim Harbaugh probably leaving college football to go to the NFL. Number two, Washington Commanders. They now have a new team name. They're no longer the football team. What do you think of the Washington Commanders?
I feel like I'm an old man yelling at the clouds today. I really do. The Commanders thing just is weird. I think Washington football team was a great name. Maybe it grew on me. Maybe Commanders is going to grow on me, but I don't like it. I wish I could be more positive about it. I just don't like the name. First of all, it's the Alliance of American Football, the San Antonio Commanders. Like, we just had this league that was formed a few years ago, and then it became defunct, and they were one of the better teams in that league early on. And it just seems like it's cheesy, like Commander in Chief. Like, what's the nickname going to be? The Durs? The
Manders?
Tommies? Like, that's not good. I'm trying to grasp my head around it, but I just can't. I think they could have done better. Again, maybe I'm an old man yelling at the cloud. That's fair criticism. But I think they swung and missed here. I really do.
Who do you think is in charge of the whole thing?
I don't know.
Actually picking the name?
I'm assuming it's Daniel Snyder likely having the final say. I would be shocked.
Name, who dis? New name, who dis?
I don't know. And I looked at the helmets, like, they're pretty cool. I think the logo is decent, but it kind of looks like the Washington football team logo, the same colors, the same scheme. They should have just
not going to change their colors. You're not like fully rebranding, right?
They kind of are. New name, new brand. Yeah, they kind of are. Think about all of the little knickknacks and all of the little things, the signage, the swag, everything has to be redone. And they just redid it, and now they're redoing it again. And I think they watered down the name. I do. I think
you wish they would have stuck with the football team.
I would have stuck with it. Now don't. If it was Commanders or other options, I might have considered other options. But if it was, let's stick with the football team or let's go with Commanders, yeah, I would probably, of those two options, I would have stuck with football team.
Yeah. Well, we got the Washington Commanders name, new name, who dis, same team, new name, and we'll see how they do this season. They're going to command the NFL, Jared. Okay.
They're going to command something.
All right, lots to talk about today. College basketball predictions. We're going to take it to the kids on the court. Even though Alex says never trust the kids, they played out well for him last night. Then we have NBA Morning Radar, chatting a little Avalanche hockey, some Denver sports with Nate Lundy, and also getting his take on the Super Bowl and who he thinks is going to come out victorious. And that's in about 10 days, 11 days. I can't believe we're already like getting closer. 3 days ago, it was like 2 weeks away. Now I feel like it's only 10 days. It feels nice. Super Bowl. It's come right around the corner. Then we have NHL Ice Picks. Talking a little bit about it. We're talking about the PGA Tour. Jared has some great picks coming from the West Coast, Pebble Beach. And so we'll get into that. And then we can't end without our Pickswise play of the day and our best bets of the day. So without further ado, my friend, let's get it. Let's bet it. College basketball. Quite a few solid games tonight. I want to start off in the Big Ten. Number 11, Wisconsin, taking on number 18, Illinois. The Badgers riding a 2-game winning streak right now after losing to MSU. Illinois bounced back after their loss with wins over MSU and Northwestern. This is going to be a really, really fun game. Break it down for me. Are you on this game? I know I am. Are you betting this game?
Okay. I'm not on this game. The reason why is I'm just unsure a little bit about the injury situation for Illinois.
Yes.
And I probably would lean Illinois if Coburn and Curbelo both play. I don't know if they're going to play. Maybe the news is out that they are going to play. Maybe the news is out that they're not. I'm assuming the line will move pretty vigorously in one direction if they both are or both aren't playing. But those are the two guys that are kind of the heart and soul of this Illinois team. And when Culberson especially is in the lineup and playing well, this Illinois team is, Curbelo This Illinois team is very, very different. He had 20 points in that game against Purdue. They lost in double overtime. Then he kind of got nicked up in that game against Maryland. They actually have won both games since he's been out against Northwestern and Michigan State.
Yeah.
So they've played pretty well without him, but I still would prefer to have Curbelo in the lineup. Coburn's a 7-footer, absolute beast. He did come back and play against Northwestern. He had 22 points, so I'm assuming he will play tonight. But he's been kind of in and out of the lineup. We had a game where he got knocked out late, like right before the game started against Maryland. He was announced out. So just check on Coburn before you make a bet in this game, because I think Wisconsin could be had in the middle, and they're a good shooting team. Wisconsin, I think they're a solid team for sure. They don't turn it over a whole bunch, and that is going to be a good recipe to going on the road and beating Illinois. But this is going to be, I think, a tough game for Wisconsin because they can be a little streaky. They're a top 40 team, offense and defense. I think it's going to be one I'll definitely be watching.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching. I'm also betting on it. I have Wisconsin in the points plus 6.5. I bet it this morning.
Nice.
I look at the past. Like the Badgers have dominated the series. They've won 15 of the last 18. They're not necessarily a super experienced team, but Brad Davidson, their fifth-year senior, he's kind of led them this season with his leadership. Right, some shooting. They've struggled. They're ranked outside the top 215 in 3 and 2-point percentage. They're 225th on the offensive glass. In Illinois, they're really solid this season, 28th in adjusted efficiency. They got off to a 6-0 start in conference play, but those, again, were all against unranked opponents. They lost to Purdue and Maryland and two of the toughest teams that they played in the conference, and they failed to cover the spread in their last 4 games. They're ranked 22nd, though, in Ken Palm adjusted offensive efficiency rating, and they're led by the biggest big man, or the best and maybe biggest big man in college basketball. Is he the biggest? Who is the biggest?
Kofi Coburn?
Yeah.
Edie, the kid from Purdue is a monster. He is a monster. That was a really good game when they faced off against each other.
Yeah.
Edie's a 7'4". He's 7'4". He's
how could, like, that's bigger than Boban Marjanovic. Like,
I don't know how tall Boban is, but
Boban's tall. He used to play for the Pistons, and when I used to interview him, I would literally they had to give me like a little apple box to stand on sometimes when I would like do stuff with him. Isn't that hilarious? But Kofi is one of the reasons why they're at number 8 in the college basketball in offensive rebounding. But they're not great with turnover rate, and I think this is where Wisconsin can kind of take advantage. They're 211th in their turnover rate in college basketball. And the Badgers have one of the most experienced guards in college basketball. They do not rely on hot shooting to win. They take care of the ball. They don't panic. They play strong defense. And I think that's a recipe for success against an Illinois team that is turnover prone. The Badgers have the height advantage overall. I think if they can contain Kofi in the paint, this is a good spot for them. 6.5, I think, is a gift to Wisconsin in this spot. They've won 15 of the last 18. Gift. I think it's a gift.
Wow. A gambling gift from the gambling god.
Gambling gift.
Let's see what the market says, and let's see if the market agrees with your gift or not. A little bit of movement towards Illinois. Nothing significant. I am seeing the majority of handle on Wisconsin. Little movement towards the under. Yeah. But nothing significant at all. Just some minor adjustments in either direction.
So I'd taken it Wisconsin plus 6.5. Take the gift, baby. That's all you got to say. Another big game tonight. Number 12, Villanova taking on number 24, 24, Marquette. The spread right now is 4. I like Marquette in the points in this spot. Jared, how do you feel about this game?
I love Marquette as a home dog.
Too.
But, man, Nova's so tough. Nova makes good teams look bad because of the style that they play. They are incredibly efficient on offense, and usually teams, so they have the 3rd slowest pace in the entire country, 356 out of 358 in adjusted tempo, but their offensive efficiency is top 10. And usually teams that are just molasses slow on offense, they aren't as efficient as you want them to be because they just don't have enough possessions to score. But Nova they squeeze every drop out of every possession that they have. They are so good at getting the most out of what is a talented roster, but definitely not the most talented roster. And of course, that's because Jay Wright is a tremendous coach. I think Shaka Smart's a tremendous coach too. This has been a very fascinating year for Marquette. They hit a really rough stretch. at the end of the calendar year. They
Yeah.
lost 4 in a row heading into the new year. Then they turned it around. They won 7 straight. That got snapped the other day when they lost to Providence on the road. Now they come home and they face Nova. This has the feeling of a Big East kind of championship or semifinal game. I think you're going to see these two teams make a good run at the Garden in a few weeks. And I think I would lean taking the points because of the Shaka Smart home dog factor. But if there is a team that can upset that apple cart, because these are two very different styles. Marquette likes to run and gun, good defensively, but Nova likes to slow things down. Like, which style is going to win out tonight? I'm not betting this. I would lean I would lean Marquette at home, but I want to kind of watch and see how Nova handles themselves in this spot.
I'm not leaning. I'm all in, baby. I got Marquette in the points, and I'm also sprinkling the money line at plus 150.
Ooh, you are all in on this one, huh?
Here's the thing. Villanova's offense couldn't figure it out against the Golden Eagles defense the first time around. That was, 2 weeks ago? Marquette's just been playing so well at home. Nova's offense, in my opinion, they're not necessarily as ruthless as we've seen. They're 52.1 effective field goal percentage, 92nd nationally, and they rely on the 3 more than Nova teams in the past. Marquette's defense, they've cracked the Ken Palm's they cracked the top 25 in Ken Palm's efficiency rating, and they've been really good at limiting 3-point attempts. They might be able to neutralize Nova, and that's Nova's biggest strength this year, which is more than they have had in the past. UConn and Providence gave Marquette trouble on the boards, but I just don't think Villanova is built to do that, right? They're not going to really be able to take advantage of Marquette in that way. And I think Marquette's been playing good enough to beat anyone in the Big East right now. Their confidence is high after beating Nova a couple weeks ago. I like Marquette in the points at home and money line sprinkle plus 150. Lock it in. I think Marquette's defense is going to be able to shut down Villanova's perimeter shooting. And I think that's Villanova's strength this season. So let's go. Let's go.
Marquette, Shaka home dog. He has 3 outright wins as a home underdog this year, by the way.
Yeah, I
for
like
those
it.
that are into the trends.
Let's deep dive into the dumpster, Jared, because you always like looking at some of these games. Let's start with LaSalle versus George Washington, the 2 lowest rated teams in Atlanta 10, according to Ken Palm. LaSalle rated 245th, George Washington 255th. What do you see from this one? The barn burner.
Yeah, so you know me, I like to go deep to the. So LaSalle, fun fact, I used to work at LaSalle.
You did?
I very strong. Yeah, LaSalle was LaSalle and Florida Atlantic were the 2 schools that I worked for in my college athletic days. So I have a really strong connection with this team, but we're fading them tonight.
Oh, baby.
So LaSalle hasn't won a game outside of Philly all year. They've won 1 road game. That was at St. Joe's, who's maybe one of the other worst teams in the Atlantic 10. They've lost 4 straight overall, 8 of 9. And I think this George Washington team is slowly trending up. They've won 3 of their last 5. Nice road win over Rhode Island a few days ago. And they've got this junior guard, James Bishop, who's averaging nearly 30 points over his last 2 games. He had his first career 30-point game the other day against St. Louis. And they also got a big boost with their senior big man, Ricky Lindo, who returned from injury last week. He had a double-double against Fordham. So I think George Washington trending up. LaSalle has been down all year, so there's really not much further for them to sink. But I think George Washington is a team moving in the right direction. They're a very good defensive team, top 70 in block percentage, top 40 in 3-point defense. And I just think LaSalle is going to struggle to score in this game. Going on the road to GW, I think the Colonials get a win here. The other game I want to bring your attention to is East Tennessee State. They are on the road tonight at Western Carolina. Here's a history lesson for you. The last time Western Carolina beat East Tennessee State at home, 1998. They've lost 14 straight home games to East Tennessee State. The Bucks have beaten the Catamounts in this rivalry 31 out of the last 32 times. This is a very one-sided rivalry. East Tennessee State's been playing better. They've lost 3 in a row, but those were by a combined 10 points. And Western Carolina, they had a really nice win over Chattanooga a couple weeks ago, who's like the best team in the SoCon. But since then, they've dropped 5 straight, and their shooting numbers their defensive shooting numbers have been really poor. And I think that's where East Tennessee State has an advantage in this game. They've got this sophomore, Jordan King, who's the reigning SoCon Player of the Week, 25 points, 4 boards, 3.5 assists. He's averaging over his last 2 games. I do think it's the defense for Western Carolina and an improved offense for East Tennessee State. So we're laying 4.5 with the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State at Western Carolina tonight. Hopefully our bet does not break a streak of 14 consecutive road wins for
I
EPA.
know. Yeah, I'm actually going to tail you on this one. Why the hell not, Jared?
Oh,
It's a
I
Wednesday.
convinced you.
Hump day. Why not? Let's do it. Let's do
Listen, it hasn't. What were you doing in January of 1998? That was the last time Western
I was
Carolina
6.
won.
I was
You were
6
6
years
years
old.
old.
Yep.
That was the last time Western Carolina beat ETSU at home.
Okay. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I really do. All right, let's get into NBA. I'm bringing our friend Nate Lundy, CEO of Mile High Sports and TV host on You Bet Tonight on Altitude TV. We're excited to have Nate on for the first time on our on Let's Bet It. What's up, Nate? What's up? Wait, we can't hear you.
Oh no.
No.
If I press the right button, you can.
There we go.
Oh, look at that.
I didn't want to interrupt Jared discussing the catamounts.
The
Because
Catamounts, I get on a roll.
if you get to the point where you're talking about things like the catamounts, if we get into like the Golden Hurricanes, anytime we go completely off the grid with mascots, it's fun because some of the little more fringe basketball fans, shall we say, Jared, think you're making stuff up. Like there's a catamount. Who the heck's
Most
a
days
catamount?
I do just make it up as I go.
Right. Exactly. So, guys, thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Well, first of all, before we get into sports betting talk, Washington Commanders.
Oh boy.
No longer the football team. How do you feel about the name? Because Jared is not a fan. Jared
No,
is not a fan at all.
I'm not a fan either. I think they should have gone with the Red Wolves. I think that was one of the options
Yeah.
that was out there. Commanders just lends itself to way too many odd nicknames for the nickname, shall we say. So
I brought one up earlier. Commies is not one that I'd
No,
that's
there's
bad.
there's nothing about this particular mascot that makes me happy with their choice. I saw somebody on Twitter earlier this morning that said, "You've been working on this for 18 months, and this is the best you can come up with." I think sometimes you get a few too many marketing and focus group people in a room, and the group think just turns into stupid think. So I'm not a big fan, but hey, it's not my team, so I guess I have to just kind of let it go.
What was wrong with
Yeah.
the football team? Like, what? I didn't. It was growing on me a little bit.
I was actually starting to get used to it, Jared. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie. I was kind of to the point of, okay, I mean, we're kind of going down the international football route, if you will,
Yeah.
with all the different FCs that are out there. But, you want to go FC, that's fine.
DCFC. That sounds kind of cool, actually.
I would have been okay with it, but okay. Like I said, it's not my team. I don't have that many zeros at the end of my bank account for me to be able to have a say. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, don't think any of us do. We can just sit here and critique it, which is the best part about it.
yeah,
Okay, let's get into a little bit of basketball because the
Yeah.
Nuggets have a huge game tonight. But first of all, Michael Porter Jr., right, played just 9 games this season. Jamal Murray working his way back from his ACL to make a season debut. The Nuggets are the 5th seed in the West right now, only 1 game back of Utah for the division lead. I just with both guys possibly coming back this season, do you think the team can make some noise in the playoffs? Because at the beginning of the season, it was kind of like, oh crap, all of these guys are getting hurt and there's really no hope at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they could make some noise, Lauren. I think the real question you got to ask yourself, and I think that Nuggets fans and Nuggets management needs to ask themselves is there what's the risk reward, right? If you believe that, if you can look at it, yeah, you could go on the kind of run that they went on in the bubble, and you could position yourself to be in a really, really good spot in the Western Conference, or you could run the risk of taking, let's take Jamal Murray for example. You could take a max contract, loved guy who is a spark plug for you, and you could run the risk of him tweaking something. And then he's got to go right back into rehab. So, thankfully, there's some guys, we were just talking about not having enough zeros in the bank account. There's some guys that make a whole lot more money than the 3 of us that get to make that decision. But I do think as a fan, there is part of me that says, do I really want to risk that with a couple of max contract guys I feel a little bit more confident about Jamal Murray simply because, you go back and his injury was long enough ago. He's been rehabbing. We've seen the film of him when he's out there warming up before the games. I feel pretty good about his rehab and his recovery with the knee. But, with Michael Porter Jr., we're talking about a back. We're also talking about a guy who had injuries. That's why he fell the way he did in the draft and landed with the Nuggets. So I think all of those things together, I would like to see them shut MPJ down. I don't think there's any reason to bring him back this season. Jamal Murray, he is such a competitor, but I also think that he's a pretty smart basketball player, and I don't think he would let them put him out there if he thought there was a risk that he was going to get hurt again. And when he and Nikola Jokic are on the floor together, it makes such a massive difference for that team. It really does catapult them. I think if they'd had Jamal Murray all season, they are probably the 2 or 3 seed at this point.
Tonight, the Nuggets are in Salt Lake City. Kind of an interesting game because the Jazz, goodness gracious, they've dropped 11 of 13. They've really been in a downward spiral. Nuggets saw their 5-game winning streak come to an end the other night. They lost to Minnesota. So both teams are kind of in weird spots right now. I think Denver obviously in a much better spot than the Jazz are, but it is the Jazz not only favored in this game tonight, Nate, but the line's moving in their direction. I'm seeing it open 2. Now I'm seeing 3. Kind of pop up around the market. Do you think the Nuggets go on the road to Salt Lake City tonight and get a win?
I think they've got a pretty good shot, and I'll tell you, sitting at, I think right before we went on, I saw the same movement you did, Jared. It was 2.5 when I was up this morning. Now it's at 3. The over under is dropped from 224.5 down to 222. So we're seeing a drop in the total as well. I think there's some value on Denver at a plus 130 on the money line. You can go grab the 2.5 at the standard juice or the 3 at the standard juice if you want. I think there's some value with Denver for a couple of reasons. One, they did not play well last night in Minnesota, so this is obviously a back-to-back for them. They lost by 15. They did not play very well, but they are going up against a Utah squad that they have now lost to 4 times in a row. I think they're tired of losing to Utah. Utah will not have Gobert, who really is the one guy that can even remotely body up with Jokic to try to give him any kind of a challenge. And I think that Nikola can take advantage of that. I mean, he was 2 assists away from another triple-double last night against Minnesota, even though the Nuggets really did not look very good. So anytime you've got Nikola Jokic on the floor, I'm going to give them a shot to be able to win because, frankly, I think he should be much more in the MVP conversation than he is right now. I don't think people are giving enough credit to what he's doing out on the court. But that said, at a plus 130, I see some value there on the money line with this Nuggets team that, I think at any given moment can catch their stride. The other thing I'm going to be looking for tonight in this particular game, 2 different player prop lines I want to see when they come out, and they have not populated as of, when we're sitting here doing our show this morning. And that is Aaron Gordon and Will Barton. Main reason why both of them, frankly, looked like crap last night. If we're being totally honest, let me give you the numbers. In 27 minutes, Barton had 13 points. He was 4 of 11 shooting and a -8 on his net. Take Aaron Gordon, 25 minutes, 7 points, 6 boards, 2 assists. That was it. And he was a -5 on his net. I don't think those 2 guys, Aaron Gordon in particular, I don't expect those 2 guys to have that poor of a performance back to back. I think both of them can bounce back. So if you're somebody that wants to stay away from the line, maybe away from the spread in this one because of what we were just talking about, that it's moving, those are a couple of player props I'm going to be looking at when they populate tonight because those guys really had bad games last night, and I don't expect that to happen back to back.
What do you think? Yeah. I know. And Jared, speaking of player props, you have one heading in tonight too. How about you guys chat about it?
Yeah, well, we can have a little fun with this one. Lugens Dort, I'm on his rebounds prop over 4.5. He's actually gone over this.
Why not?
I know it. Well, I like to find, Nate, my strategy with NBA player props is I like to live in the plus money territory because, as you know, everything's so fluky. And you can always find a player prop in plus money, I think, that you can see some statistical value in. And then the flukiness factor, well, you're on the better side of a coin flip with the odds. So that's kind of where I tend to go. So this is plus 120. He's averaging just over 4 per game. So he's kind of right on that average this season. But again, of late, 6, 8, 7 over his last 3 games. So he's gone well over this. And no Porzingis for the Mavs tonight. So a little bit of a smaller lineup for Dallas. The Thunder are big underdogs in this game. Obviously, they're underdogs in most games that they play.
They're not good.
They're not very good. But I think the smaller lineup for Dort, who tends to mix it up. He's kind of one of those guys that likes to get his nose dirty. I think 4.5 rebounds, and he only needs 5. And again, plus 120. I feel the price there is relatively favorable.
So I follow the same kind of idea, Jared, that you do when it comes to the player props. First of all, I like the plus odds that you can find. I like if I can find it in what we always used to call hustle stats, right? Steals and rebounds. Two things that if you go with smaller lineup, you tend to see a little bit more of that kind of hustle that happens. And you're also talking plus odds for something that really could come down to where the ball bounces off the rim, right? Sometimes you get lucky. Somebody pops a 3, it goes off the back iron, and the rebound is actually all the way out by the arc. So you can get lucky with those kinds of opportunities as well. The other player props that I like looking at in the NBA is what our good friend Brad Evans and I refer to as one and done, right? So if I need a single made 3, or I need a steal or something like that. And here's what's crazy is a lot of times those stats, you can find those same plus odds, Jared, that you're talking about. You can find somebody that if they make, if they get a steal in the game, it might be a plus 110, plus 115, sometimes a little bit higher. Well, if you find somebody that is following a bit of a trend where maybe they're averaging a steal a game, so it means they might go 0, but then all of a sudden they might have a game where they get 2. Those are some other fun stats that I like looking at, especially if you're going up obviously against a team that's turnover prone, or a team that likes to play at a pretty heavy pace. I like to pay attention to the NBA pace of play as well, because the pace leads to obviously more possessions, which means more opportunities for your rebounds or my steals in this case. So I like the one and done stats too, just because talk about, you may be sweating it out late, but you also might, somebody might get that 3-pointer in the first quarter and boom, you're done.
I know. I kind of like that actually. Speaking about fun, though, you said fun props. A team that's been fun to watch is the Avalanche. Maybe not necessarily last night against the Arizona Coyotes. It was still kind of exciting.
How about that money line on
That
Milwaukee?
wasn't necessarily a fun game, but 18 home wins in a row, Nate. I mean, that is something that's pretty incredible right now. They're sitting as favorites to win the Stanley Cup at plus 475. The second best odds right now are plus 700. Would you still place a bet on the Avs to win it all, even at that low of a number? Because you're still getting it in plus money.
Yeah, I think right now, because I'm actually concerned, Lauren, if they come out of the All-Star break, last night was their final game. Now they've got the All-Star break, and then they'll come back out. They don't play again until next Thursday. But this is a team that I wouldn't be surprised if by the time we get to, let's say, March 10th, March 5th, somewhere right in that range, it wouldn't surprise me if this number drops below 400. And we start to see it drop down. We know that it almost always stays in positive territory, even as we get closer to the playoffs, because you do have the flukiness that can happen in the playoffs. We know that. The Avs were...
We've seen that with the Avs the last 3 seasons.
We absolutely have. And it's really going to come down to goaltending for them. And that's something that we got to watch as we get closer to the playoffs. But I think right now at a plus 475, you're still getting it at a value. Now, I also am somebody from a betting standpoint. I hate tying up my money. I got to be honest with you. I'm one of those people that doesn't do a lot of action on futures, simply because I like being able to continually churn. I like being able to go through what my what my balance is or what my comfort level is, and be able to do it. Maybe not night by night, but at least week by week. Like I've already sprinkled in a couple of bets for the Super Bowl coming up, but beyond that, I don't like doing a whole lot of futures. I like finding stuff that I can take advantage of in the immediacy. Call me greedy, but I do like not having to sit on something for too long. Give you a good example. I had a couple of player props in the NFL this past season that I made back in August. Thankfully, both of them hit. But I'll tell you what, just sitting there staring at them in my account going, all right, I know these are going to hit. Can I have my money back now? I mean, everybody watching right now knows that feeling, right? When you're just like, gosh, can I just have my money back, please? So I can reinvest it and probably lose it in something else. But yeah, last night, you talked about the Avs. Last night was painful. I had somebody hit me up on Twitter that put together, I think it was an 8-leg or a 9-leg parlay. And the only one they missed was the Avs on the money line.
No, and Avs are usually always hitting. Like, come on.
Yeah, that was definitely painful. I had a bad feeling to be honest, going into that game, because I just felt like, you know what, if you're going to lose a streak, it's going to happen to somebody like Arizona, especially the final game before the break. You know, you don't have to play for 8 more days. I think sometimes your head's in another place. We all know the feeling of senioritis, right, in high school, where you're just kind of ready to check out. I think the Avs were kind of ready to check out last night and get themselves a break, and Arizona obviously caught them.
It's a good point, actually, about tonight, too, in the NHL.
Yeah.
It's last night of the pre-All-Star break games. So I'm assuming there will be at least 1 or 2 favorites who probably, or frankly, underdogs as well, that know that they're not really have much to play for. The standings aren't looking very favorable for them, and they're ready to ship out for their All-Star break festivities. Yeah. That's something to keep in mind. It's very hard to predict which teams will feel that way. Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, our job. Let's move over to the Super Bowl, because there's kind of a big game in about 11 days.
I've never heard of it.
A little
small game left to be played in the NFL. We're starting to see a little bit of the handle move towards the Rams. It opened 3.5 and it's moved to 4, and now we're seeing 4.5s. I think the favorite against the spread and the underdog on the money line tends to be where the public likes to put their coin for Super Sunday. Is that where you are gravitating towards, Nate?
Yeah, I'm going to lean to right now my lean is to the Bengals. And part of it is because of the comebacks that we've seen them do. The fact that you really can't count them out. And I think that, while my lean is that way, I think the other thing that folks need to keep in mind is this might be a game that you want to your pregame action is actually going to be more on the prop side of things.
Agreed.
And maybe wait to see how the first 8 to 10 minutes on the clock goes and live bet this thing and watch to see where things are at. I mean, right before this past weekend, you guys know, right before halftime, when Kansas City was driving down the field, and it looked like at the very least they were going to get a field goal, if not a touchdown. And then, in my opinion, they got greedy in their play calling, and that's why they didn't wind up scoring. You could get Cincinnati. Some of the books had it as high as plus 900 on the money line going into halftime. Now, I happened to be watching the game with some Bengals fans, and so there were a number of people in the room that actually jumped on that money line when it got to, as soon as it got to 700, they actually jumped on it, sprinkled some more in there for them to be able to complete the comeback. They had a nice little payday by the time the game was over. But this may be one that we want to actually pay attention to that live line within the first quarter and maybe stay away a little bit here beforehand, but have some fun with the player props that are out there going into it instead of focusing in too much on the line. I think right now we may be seeing, some movement with the Rams, with people that just expect that Aaron Donald, Von Miller, we saw Joe Burrow get sacked 9 times in a game, and we know what that defensive line can do for the Rams. I think that's part of it. And then I think the betting that's going to take place on the Cincinnati side, I mean, is it just this giant vacuum sucking sound in Ohio? Is that everybody that's betting on the Bengals right now? It could be.
Yeah. And me. I was drunk on emotion the other day after they won. And I bought Joe Burrow glasses.
I was drunk on something else, so that's okay.
I might have had a couple of
Was your emotion in that cup of yours, not something else?
Maybe multiple ways. Maybe it's fine.
That was the name of the drink at the bar that she ordered, Nate. Emotion.
Drunk on emotion. I ordered a Joe Burrow sweatshirt. It says Joe Burr, and it's just a photo of like his eyes with the glasses.
She just
on.
keeps texting.
And then I ordered the glasses too. They ordered the glasses. It's always been Joe Burrow. It's always been the Bengals.
Be a fan. That's what I would tell you. Now, from a betting standpoint, make sure you're being smart. I tell everybody that on my TV show. I'm like, look, just be smart when you're betting. It's okay to have
the voice of reasons on this side of the aisle. Usually she's the one that bets with her heart.
Well,
but it
works for me.
Hey, she's kicking my ass in the play of the day standing, so I'm not.
I was going to say, I mean, sometimes it works. I'll give you a great example. My wife is a Jayhawk. My wife graduated from Kansas. She is absolutely hardcore Jayhawk fan. If I decide to bet on a Kansas game, and guys, it does not matter which side I'm going to bet. Okay. I can be betting for Kansas. I can be betting like for, Texas Tech to cover, whatever. Okay. I can't tell her because she is convinced if I do any action whatsoever on the game, that I am going to somehow screw over Bill Self and Ochai Obaji and all
Not
of them.
last night. They looked
No,
great last
no, they looked great last night. Obviously against Kentucky, not so much. But so I understand this idea where you've got, you know, the good angel and the bad angel on each shoulder, because I like betting on college basketball. It's fun. Because I enjoy watching college basketball, and I like being able to bet on stuff that I can watch. It gives you some rooting interest, even if you. But she will look at me and go, "Did you bet on this game?" And I'm like, Nope. I can't tell her. She will absolutely lose her ever-loving mind because she's convinced that I'll just somehow mess it up. So yeah, I understand completely the Cincinnati Bengals Joe Burrow side of things, because I live it every time the Jayhawks play.
It's always been Joe. You like that, guys? Nate, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show with us.
Absolutely.
We so appreciate it.
Absolutely, folks. And I appreciate the invite. Happy to do it anytime.
Of course. Nate Lundy, CEO of Mile High Sports, TV host. You bet tonight. Have a great one. Oh, you love it. That's so funny. Did you bet the game tonight? He's like, no, that wasn't me.
This is why if and when I get back involved in a relationship, the gambling thing will be separate from the relationship. Keep your money and your love separate, right? Separate.
All is fair in love and betting.
All is fair
in love and betting.
That's a great t-shirt idea right there. All is fair in love and betting.
Yeah. Mark that down. John, mark that down.
Yeah. Get John Clark to get some new Pickswise. I haven't gotten any new Pickswise swag in a few weeks. I've got this nice sweatshirt here that I wear a lot, but I need something fresh. Get on that.
I actually really like that sweatshirt. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, let's take it to the ice, because as you were saying, and as we were talking with Nate about, it is the last day before NHL All-Star break, which was originally supposed to be a 3-week break, right, for the Olympics and for All-Star. But obviously, with all the games being postponed, the NHL not being involved in the Olympics, it's now only like a week-long break. 5 games on the slate tonight before the All-Star break. I'll let you go first. Who are you leaning? Because you're heavy on the Wild tonight.
Yeah, and the more that I think about this, the more I hope that the Wild don't pull an Avs from last night, and just they're a team that is a front-running team. They're doing really well in the standings. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. I hope that they're not mentally checked out for the All-Star break. But then you look at the other side and you look at this Blackhawks team, and you could make the argument that the Blackhawks have had a superior talent all season long, but have been checked out all year, because they have not played well. Their numbers are terrible. They've lost 6 of 7. They just got beat 5-1 at home by the Wild about 10 days ago. So to me, when you look at this Hawks team, they don't generate a lot of scoring chances. They're 3rd fewest goals scored this year, 10th most goals allowed. That's not a good recipe. And the Wild defensively have been really stingy. They give up the 2nd fewest high danger scoring chances in the league. They don't generate a ton of high danger scoring chances on their own, but I do think they have a favorable edge here. So we're going to take the Wild on the 3-way money line, and we'll do the sprinkle on the -2.5 puck line. That's kind of been the puck lines that I've been gravitating towards lately. Just a half-unit sprinkle there. That's a big juicy one, +275. But I do think the Wild go into Chicago tonight, get a win, finish the first half of the season on a high note, and hopefully it's the Blackhawks that are the team that's looking ahead to the All-Star break. If it's the Wild, we could see what we saw last night between Arizona and the Avs, but hopefully, for my bet's sake, it is the Wild that have the better edge tonight on the ice.
Yeah, I like it. And I was actually leaning yesterday. Well, I did bet yesterday the Avs puck line at -2.5 too, and I thought that was like a lock. I was like, this is definitely going to hit.
No such thing as a lock.
You hate to see it. You really do. One of the games I'm on is the Kings Red Wings. That's actually my best bet of the day, so I'll save that for a little bit. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the Oilers and Caps too. I like the Caps 3-way money line tonight at +135. They're playing in the nation's capital, the Washington Capitals. The Caps have a 4-game road winning streak right now, but they do have a 2-game slide at home. The Oilers coming off of a loss to the Sens in overtime. I think you were on the Oilers in that game too, weren't you? And I tailed you on that one.
I'm sorry for that.
No, it's okay. All of these teams that literally.
I've been on a cold streak with NHL lately. No pun.
Hey, you know what? Today's the day it turns around, Jared. But you know what? Like, it is one of those things. All-Star break is coming up. These favorites that are basically, it's a one-sided game. Like, the Avs are literally the best team in the NHL, and the Coyotes are one of the worst 3 teams in the NHL. No one would think that at home, after the Avs had an 18-game win streak, that they would come back and win that game. It's just sometimes the chips just don't fall the way that they're basically supposed to, and whatever. but I don't like the Oilers in this spot either. The Caps are on the second night of a back-to-back set. Washington has 11 wins in the last 16 games in the second game of a back-to-back. The Oilers were on a 4-game winning streak before they lost to the Sens. They've only won, though, 2 of their last 8 road games, which is not a great stat to have. They're the 10th best. Oh my God, words. Jeez. I'm like talking so fast. The 10th best scoring team in the NHL, but 22nd in defensive rating. They're giving up 3.29 goals per game. They're 1-7 in their last 8 games against Eastern Conference opponents. The Caps have the 11th best offense in the NHL and the 7th in least goals allowed. So I think that their defense is going to be able to step up. They're going to be able to shut down the Oilers on the road, who haven't been playing very well on the road and have only 1 win in their last 8 games against Eastern Conference opponents. Caps take this one in the nation's cap. No cap.
Caps hopefully not the Commanders.
Yeah.
Hopefully they play better than the Commanders do tonight. So this game actually had some serious line movement towards Edmonton. Now, that doesn't mean anything. The Caps could come out and kill them, but Edmonton, I'm staying away from all Edmonton things after my disaster the other night.
Yeah,
that was
screwed you over.
I mean, they lost to the Senators at home. That was bad.
You got to rebuild some trust, and then you can get back into it after the All-Star break. Take a few days.
Yeah, I wasn't going to play I wasn't going to bet the NHL tonight, and then this wild game kind of struck me. But originally, my plan was to take the night off in NHL, so I'm sure it'll come back to bite me.
Well, you know what? You got 1 more day, and then you have a week off, so it's good. Yeah. You got to get in on it somehow. I want to take it to the left coast, the West Coast, AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, okay, PGA Picks. Last season, it was only PGA professionals because of COVID. Now they're returning to the traditional format, 156 pairings of professionals, amateurs at Pebble Beach, Spyglass Hill, Monterey Peninsula Country Club. It's going to be fun. And I love Pebble Beach. I had the pleasure of being able to play there when I was like 16 with my family. Awesome. It was awesome. Who do you got for this? Because you have quite a few picks.
Yeah, I'll go through a brief cap here. So Pebble Beach, the courses that are going to be played, the golf links, shorter courses, not as reliant on the big heavy hitters, the boppers. And actually I think there's only 1 player in the world top 10 rankings in this tournament. I think it's Cantlay. But so for the most part, this is not lesser players. They're all great, but it's not the big names and it's not the heavy hitters. And this is a shorter course. The iron game, the short game matters a lot more. Keep an eye on Jordan Spieth. He is a polarizing figure, obviously, whenever he's in a tournament like this. He loves Pebble Beach. His last 5 appearances, 3rd, 9th, 45th, 20th, but then 1st. So he's had 3 top 10s in his last 5, including the win in 2017. But the issue with Jordan Spieth, so he missed the cut last week at Torrey Pines, and it was revealed, I read about it last night, he had like this bacterial infection. He lost all this weight. He was not himself. Even his family was texting him during the tournament at Torrey Pines, like, you don't look great. Ended up missing the cut. He says he's back to full strength.
Yeah.
If he is back to full strength, you're getting 20, 25 to 1 on a guy that loves this course, has played well, has won here before, and has a very high ceiling, and he's not being priced as one of the top golfers this week in this field. He's probably 6th or 7th on the list. So maybe if Spieth is over whatever intestinal bacteria problem he had, that could be
an interesting. It doesn't sound fun.
It does not sound fun. I've been there before. Everyone's been there before with, they got some bug or virus. It's not a fun thing. Probably affects your golf game a lot. But if he is healthy, I think, again, you're getting a slight discount on him because he missed the cut last week, and the market is a little bearish on him in this tournament. So keep an eye on Jordan Spieth. That could be an interesting live play Thursday night, Friday morning, Saturday, depending on where the market stands then. I've got 3 matchups and 1 leaderboard pick. I'll blow through these quick. Tom Hoge over Denny McCarthy. Hoagie's running really hot and cold. Missed the cut at Torrey Pines last week, but 2 weeks ago at La Quinta, he was tied for 2nd at the American Express. So totally opposite ends of the spectrum for Hoge. He's 6th in strokes gained approach. That is the metric to keep an eye on this week. Very solid iron game for Mr. Hoge, and he finished 12th at Pebble Beach last year. Knows the course, has played well there before. McCarthy, 108th in approach. Not a great iron player, and he missed the cut at Pebble last year. So you can kind of see where I'm going here, guys that don't play well at Pebble compared to guys that have played well and that have good iron game. That can definitely be said about Lonto Griffin over Christian Bezadenhout. Griffin shot 65 Sunday at Torrey Pines, came on really strong. He was T3 at American Express 2 weeks ago, all 4 rounds in the 60s. His last appearance at Pebble Beach, 9th in 2020. So he has played well there before. Bezadenhout has never played Pebble Beach before. So we'll see how he does in his first appearance. He was T46 at Torrey Pines, T40 at the Amex. So he has been kind of hovering around the cut line of late, but hasn't really broken through. And Troy Merritt over Ryan Palmer. This one's a plus money matchup. Merritt, top 30 in strokes gained approach. His last 3 appearances at Pebble Beach, all inside the top 30, 2 top 20s, 1 top 10. Ryan Palmer missed his cut in 4 of his last 6 appearances at Pebble Beach, and he's 47th in approach. So you're getting an edge with the iron game and a huge edge with course familiarity. And then finally, I'm taking a run on Jason Day to finish in the top 20.
Jason Day.
Yeah, I love the Aussie here. Coming off a top 3 at Torrey Pines, and he is a Pebble Beach machine. His last 7 appearances at Torrey Pines, he has not finished lower than 11th. 7th, 4th, 2nd, 5th, 11th, 4th.
Jason Day, baby.
On Jason Day to finish inside the top 20 this week. He's coming on strong. He's very familiar with the course. We'll take a little sprinkle on Mr. Day to finish T20. So that's the golf picks for Pebble Beach. Good luck.
I like it. I actually am going to tell you on that Jason Day pick. I really am a Jason Day fan. I think I would just want to have a beer with him. He just seems like a good dude, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's a great golfer. I'd love to pick his brain about my golf swing. That's for sure.
I'm like, I'd love to have a beer with him. Love to pick his game about my golf swing.
Give me some tips. I talk to Steve Elkington all the time. Speaking of Aussies, he's trying to get me to my tempo's off still. It's tough too in the wintertime. I can't play here in New York.
Yeah, golf is a very frustrating sport, which I still have not mastered. I can like blast the ball off the tee, but once it comes down to my short game, I'm like, ooh.
I think if I had to describe your personality, I think that would be how I would describe it.
My golf game describes my personality.
Yeah. Super aggressive and long off the tee, but a little inconsistent with the short game. I think that's how I would describe the personality of yours.
My God, that's hilarious.
Heavy hitter. That's
hilarious. Okay, well, I'm putting that in my Twitter bio. My golf game describes my personality.
I'm flattered that you're using one of my quotes in your Twitter handle.
We'll stick with it. I'll even quote you in there.
We're planning on having a Pickswise golf out. It needs to happen.
It actually does have to happen. I'm in. I'm here for it. Okay, what is our 3-star play of the day on the Pickswise?
Oh, good question. I wasn't even looking. Hold on one second. Actually, we had if you want to get to that question, the chat question we had, our friend, someone in the chat had a good question for you, I think.
It says, when you give out your play today, he wants to know if it matters who the Kings goalie is versus the Red Wings. I definitely think it does matter. I'm pretty sure it's Cal Peterson, though, starting tonight for the Kings. So he's good, but I still I'll give out my best. I'll give out my best, but I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Fair enough. Sorry, I didn't know that question directly contradicted one of your best bets. So we got 2 college basketball picks. I'll give out the over in Purdue and Minnesota is the one that I would probably lean towards between the 2. Wise guy, Matt Weisenfeld. Good game tonight, actually. Purdue's a team that I keep an eye on for March because they're really long and athletic and they can fill it up. And the over 142 is where Matt Weisenfeld wants you to bet tonight. 3-star Pickswise play today. There's actually a bunch on here, and one of them, Jason Day, they picked Joe Champion, picked Jason Day to win the Pebble Beach. I like that.
Day. Check it out. Pickswise.com website, baby. All right, best bets of the day, Jared. You're sticking with your wild.
Yeah, let's go buck wild tonight, huh? I'm not going to beat this handicap to a dead horse because we already talked about it a little bit, but the Wild have won 5 in a row. They're cooking right now. They've won 8 of 9, and the Blackhawks just are a mess, an absolute mess. I backed them the other night when they were facing Halak and you were on the Canucks, and I was dead wrong about that. So I'm off the I'm off the Hawks. I'm on the Wild. I think Chicago, if I was going to pick one of the 2 teams that is mentally checked out and ready for the All-Star break in this game, I would lean Blackhawks. just
Mhm.
because they were so far out of the race. But who knows? I could be wrong. It could be Chicago coming out with all the fire tonight, but I am going to bet my money that it is going to be Minnesota coming out on top in this game. Three-way money line -105, and just a little half unit sprinkle on the
Seriously.
line -2.5 at +275. We're going big tonight on Minnesota.
You big
In
or go home,
Chicago,
baby.
taking on the Hawks.
Go big or go home. You know what? I'm actually betting for my hometown team, the Detroit Red Wings, money line against the LA Kings +116. It's in Detroit. The Kings are running a 5-game point streak right now. They're 3-0-2 in their last 5. They've had 3 victories on their 6-game road trip that's still kind of occurring right now. The Wings have only won 1 of their last 4 home games. Okay. But I still like the Red Wings in this spot. Even though Cal Peterson, he extended his tally. He's 11-6-1 on the season, 2.68 goals against average, 900 save percentage. The Kings are 12th in least goals scored per game this season. They're 11th, though, in least goals given up. Their defensive game has been pretty solid. The Red Wings recorded their 2nd win in the last 3 games. They're 23rd in the league right now in goals per game. They let up the 7th highest quantity of goals. But I think in this spot, one day before the All-Star break, this is the place to really hammer them home, right? Even though they've only won once in their last 4 home games, they've shown some serious resilience throughout those losses. They lost to the Stars in overtime, went head-to-head in Chicago, and they were the better team through 2 periods against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs came out that 3rd period and they were like had a new sense of a new team. Even though Detroit lost 6 of their last 7 to the Kings, they've won the last 4 games on a single day's rest. The Kings are 0-3 following their most recent 3 games following a win. So I like the Wings in this spot. It might not necessarily be like super capped right now. I like Nedeljkovic and how he's been playing. And I don't know. I just have a good feeling about this game. Red Wings at home right before the All-Star break. Even though all of the stats don't necessarily favor the Red Wings in this spot, I think they're going to come out strong in front of a home crowd, knowing that they now have 7 days off after this.
Market agrees with you, by the way, and I'm
Really?
telling you on this. I'm telling you on this.
Let's do it.
I
Detroit,
got
baby.
+120 at the Westgate right now for those that are in New Jersey or in Vegas. The Westgate's offering +120 on Detroit. I think that's a really good price. I just locked it in. I'm in.
Yes, let's
Wings
go.
money line. Let's
Let's
go.
Red Wings. I'm a
Home
big
dog.
fan of it. Big fan of it. Home dog. That's it for us today. Long show today, almost an hour. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to Pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jabara. Best of luck tonight, everyone. We'll see you again tomorrow, 24 hours later. Don't miss us too much. Let's get it. Let's bet it. Good luck.